Hey, everybody, welcome to a brand new show. This is episode 1 of the MD Power Hour, because a half hour wasn't long enough, with Giles, Tiger Thomas, and Ron Harris. And now, please welcome all the way from the United Kingdom, Sir Giles Thomas. What's up, Giles?
I'm glad you got my official title, my correct title right there, Ron. Thank you very, very much. How you doing, mate? Have you had a good Christmas?
I did, thank you. So we're recording this a little before New Year's. We're going to recap 2022. And we hope you guys all had a great 2022. We're looking forward to 2023. But man, it was an eventful year. A lot of stuff happened. It was the first year we really broke out of the pandemic, so that was excellent for the world overall. But man, let's get into it, because 2022, as any year in a sport with a lot of different people and events and things going on, it was one for the history books. So I hate to start off with a couple of passings, but it's very proper and respectful to do that, I think, because we lost some key figures. First one was Cedric McMillan at only 44 years old. Wow. Which is, how old are you now, Giles? Like, you're 44, aren't you?
I'm 46 now.
Okay, so see, I mean, 44 was when you look back, and that was a young age, right? 44.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it came kind of, I wouldn't say it came out of nowhere, because we knew Cedric had been struggling with a couple health issues and he had been hospitalized with pneumonia, but you never expect anyone to pass away. I mean, I remember exactly where I was. I was on vacation in Florida. I was actually at the Redcon gym in Boca Raton, about to start working out with Kai Green when I got the news. I was like,
oh wow,
oh, no. And I had to be there when he got the news. He was devastated. I think he knew Cedric, but you knew Cedric pretty well yourself. So it must have really come as a shock to you.
Yeah, I got the news from Brian from, I forgot his last name now, the guy from Ireland.
Oh,
Brian.
Wasn't he on the bus? Wasn't he on the bus with us?
Yes, he was. Yeah. Brian, he was, and he sent me a message, and because I let you know, didn't I? And he said Cedric's had a heart attack, and I said, is he okay? And he said he didn't make it, and I was like, oh, I was so, because it was so soon after George Peterson and Sean Roden. It's like we didn't expect that. And I wasn't that aware of his health issues, but I heard that he'd been given some information saying, look, you need to, your heart is, and he said, but I feel fine, like I did. He said, I feel fine. He felt great. So, if you feel good, mentally you're kind of in that good space. You just think, oh, well, if I feel fine and I'm going to carry on, it's like there was no real warning shots, so I feel really, I mean, he was one of my favorites. Cedric and Sean Roden were actually two of my favorite bodybuilders, and we lost them both within, a few months of each other. It was really sad, terrible loss.
Yeah. I believe he was Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite current bodybuilder of this era.
Yeah, I believe that.
Rest in peace. Shortly after that, a young man named Boston Lloyd. I knew him. I don't think you ever really met him or anything, but
no.
He was 29 years old, which is very, very young. Didn't even live to see 30. Has a young son. My heart goes out. It's one of those things where when he first came on the scene, I hated everything he stood for. I didn't like him because I thought he was promoting a lot of recklessness, which I never agreed with a lot of that. But once I actually did get to know him, he came up to this area one time, and I put him through a chest workout. We used to talk. We used to message each other, and he wasn't a bad guy. That was like an online persona. And then when I heard, a lot that's not uncommon these days. You'll meet someone in real life, and you're like, wow, that's nothing like what they portray online. But he went into kidney failure and thought he was going to make it. He was very optimistic, and then next thing I heard, he was gone. But 29 years old, man. Tragedy.
Young. I mean, I was a maniac in my 20s. It's a miracle that I survived. So kind of stuff like that really makes you think, you just think some are lucky, some aren't, But I feel for his family, definitely.
Yeah. So the first bodybuilding event of the year for us was the Arnold Classic. You didn't make it. I wish you had been there. But it was a great rematch between William Bonac and Brandon Curry, who I believe they faced off the Arnold a couple times before.
Yep.
They're both previous champions. Bonac had 2 wins to Brandon's 1. Mm-hmm. And it was a controversial outcome because Brandon was not at his best. He did not spend his usual amount of time over in Kuwait preparing. I think it was only, do you tell me it was 8 or 9 weeks he was over there?
Well, I can't say exactly what I was told, but he said he was. I spoke to his coach, and he said he was. He said normally he preps for 12 weeks, and he said I don't think he even started back until like 6 weeks out. So it was a very, very rush. I'm not sure I'm should be saying that, but
Okay.
you know, he did say to me, he said, "Look, Giles," he said, when he first came to me, he said he was like my size. He said he really because Brandon. No, he said Brandon is a responder. He said because when he really gets entrenched in Q8, he really. His body really responds because obviously they're doing everything, the eating, the training, the cardio, they're just literally eating, sleeping, training, completely no distractions. And obviously someone like that with that kind of muscle memory, that kind of physique already there, it comes back fast. I spoke to Patrick Johnson and he said, because he's been training with Brandon, they've been roommates.
Wow.
And he was saying, he said, Giles, he said, I've never seen anyone change so fast in my life. He says, Brandon comes to Q8 and he's very downsized. And then he just literally inflates day by day. You can see his body changing dramatically. So,
what do we call that? Pulling a,
what?
We call that pulling a Leveroni, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Leveroni. Yeah, because Leveroni's done like me, like 20 weeks out, 12, 16 weeks out. And then he just like morphed. And he did that every single year. Do you remember with Leverone, every single year they'd say, oh, he's done, he's an alcoholic now, he's partying, and then all of a sudden he would just, every single year, he'd walk on stage at Olympia in the Arnold Classic and he'd be like, haha, prove me wrong again.
So back to, Bonac had sort of been written off because that previous Olympia, which had just taken place a few months before, he had slid down to 6th place, where this was a guy who was typically 2nd, 3rd, 4th at the worst. That leg that had been injured was still noticeably smaller. His upper body looked like it was losing size and fullness. And we thought he was probably on the way out because he's over 40 already. And then the Arnold Classic, boom, he shows up looking
amazing,
like Bonac's supposed to look, like the William Bonac that we know, the Conqueror. And a lot of us thought he had the victory sealed. Now, Brandon does have better shape and structure. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. But this was not the Brandon Curry that we've seen win Olympias and win Arnold Classics before. He was a little bit downsized. The condition really wasn't there. So it was a controversial win. But 1 week later, right here in Boston, Bonac comes and slam dunks. Boom. Wasn't even close. It was lights out. But, I know you were watching it remotely, the Arnold Classic, but how did you see that particular outcome? Were you in agreement with the judges or not on that one?
No. I Bonac winning both. I mean, obviously won Boston as well easily, but he looked even better in Boston. But because I was interviewing William at the Olympia, obviously at the Meet the Olympians, and I said one of the most shocking things I've seen this year was what you did in 6 weeks with Chad Nichols, and he went, no, Giles, it was in 5. Wow. Yeah, and he said, no, Giles, it was 5 weeks. I went, how does that even work? I said, because you not only got back to your best, but you went beyond it, because I think he looked probably the best he's ever, certainly at Boston, he looked the best he'd ever looked. Yeah. And I just wonder what the hell Chad did with him, because, William was really kind of on the slide. He was second, second, and then he was 4th and 5th and 6th, and it was like, okay, that's why I messaged him actually after the other week after the Olympia, because he obviously slid down to 9th. And I said, mate, how are you doing, mate? How are you feeling? Because, because we all celebrate these guys when they win, and we message them and DM them and everything. And he says, I'm good. He said, the pressure's off now. But because I saw pictures of him 2 weeks out and he looked absolutely incredible. So but my point is, you cannot write William Bonac off because because of what he did earlier in the year. And obviously the thing is, he's working with a new coach as well. So maybe there's a few things they'll do differently for next time. But yeah, what he did at the Arnold Classic and then the Boston was just, I watched the live stream for Boston, and I was just like, this is the best William Bonac we've ever seen. So like I said, never write these guys off, because they can all, we can all have one bad day, and that one bad day could be at the Olympia. Or they could try something new with a new coach, and it can just basically wreck all your sort of, all your prep in like a couple of days. Yeah. So he's somebody I'm not giving up on.
See, I wish he had brought the Boston Pro package to the Olympia, or at least very close to it. I don't know what, I'm not going to second guess him or Chad or anyone, but they got him up to an all-time high body weight, I think of like 264. Yeah, and he wasn't out of shape at all. It was very impressive. So we're thinking, okay, now we're going to see a Bonac that's bigger than ever, great condition and all that. And, unfortunately, the human body doesn't always do exactly what you want it to do. A lot of variables involved, but I'm not writing him off. I mean,
no.
Anytime where 9 times out of 10, when I've written people off, they end up making a great comeback. So maybe I should I probably should write him off for his own good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Derek Lunsford. This was a whole saga that went on all year. Started off at that Pittsburgh Pro in early May. He guest posed at what was later revealed to be like 264. Why do I keep saying 264? Is that everybody's body weight? He was about
260.
He was about 260. For a guy that was competing at 212 and not out of shape at all. And he was the talk of that show. It basically broke our little industry social media. That's all everybody was talking about for a couple of days. How great Lunsford. And then it started coming around to, will he try to go to the Open this year? Will he try to get, and let's fast forward. He got the special invite. A lot of people were upset about that. He didn't earn his way there. Didn't win it. You weren't upset. No, I wasn't upset either, but a lot of people were butthurt about it, because Sean Clarita and Angel Calderon-Frias both earned their way to the Olympia, the Open, Mr. Olympia, by winning open shows post Olympia, or shows that qualified them. And he didn't. Derek didn't do it. And a lot of people predicted he wasn't even going to be, if he made top 10, he'd be doing great. People were saying he'd be very, very lucky. They're throwing that. I'm a shorter guy, so I can say this word. They were calling midget, 212, the typical shit talk. Then the Olympia comes around, and we were there. We saw what happened. I mean, there's a guy that wasn't. A lot of people felt didn't even have the right to be on that stage with these other guys, and he almost wins the show. I don't think Hany Chupan blew him away, where it was like it wasn't like Hany and then the rest of the field. He was pushing him, and he had shots front and back, front double bicep, rear double bicep. He had some shots over Hany. No doubt about it. But man, Derek's somebody we've both followed. We've interviewed many times. So this must have been an interesting year for you to watch this whole Derek Lunsford saga unfold.
The thing is, you said about, people saying he wouldn't make top 10, but that was probably before the guest posing, because when that guest posing happened, don't forget, he was stood next to Nick Walker. He was stood next to Hunter. He was stood next to Brandon Curry, who was 2nd, 4th, and 5th at the Olympia. And I'm sorry, but he did steal focus from all of them. And I know it doesn't matter how they look in the off season, but, Derek brought something that I didn't think was possible. Do you know, I was speaking to Derek's wife at the Superstar seminar on the Sunday. I was chatting to Derek, and then I went over to Chris Bumstead. Yeah. And because we were like the last ones there. And she said, what was the whole, she was telling me her perspective of kind of after the Olympia, because he's straight back in the gym. He won the Olympia, and he was kind of, and she said, Giles, she says, he was eating kale salads. He was eating nothing, and he was growing. That his body was like, she said, babe, we've got to keep your body weight down. She says, Hany says we don't want you to go above 240 in the off season, because otherwise you're going to struggle to make it down to 212. Wow. She said, and he was miserable because he was loving his training. His body was obviously wanting to grow. And she said he hit 240. She says, then he hit 250. Then he hit 260. And Hany said, okay, I think we need to have a talk about your future. And that's when it was kind of decided that he was going to go into the Open. But I think when we saw that guest posing, I mean, I honestly didn't expect that. And funny enough, I was looking in MD, I was looking at a picture of Derek as a 212, and he looks unrecognizable now. Yeah. There's a side chest, and what he did this year makes last year look laughable, which is kind of really, that's.
So this was as a 212. He looked pretty damn big and thick as a 212, but.
There's a side chest in there, and honestly, look, he looks so thin. Honestly, that guy. And you know what? And I shouldn't really say this, but I've written, because the deadline for MD came right before the Olympia. Yeah. I had to do and I didn't want to talk about the Arnold yet. I wanted to talk about what I thought would happen. And I tell you what, have a read when you get the issue about what I said about Derek Lunsford, because it is eerie. Like, I was like, holy shit, I am Mystic Tiger. I mean, even down to the body weight. Did you have Hany and him as the top two at the Olympia? Not him and Hany, no. But I talked about Derek specifically, how he was going to look in his physique and how he was going to do. So, I mean, I was so happy he got the special invite. I was not against that. I mean, I wrote about it in my MD Globe Muscle Buzz column many, many times. Yeah. And I said, look, personally, as a fan, forget about everything else I do. I want the big reveal to come when he, and when I was at the Olympia, I was holding my breath when his name was called, and I could feel the atmosphere in the whole place go, oh, here we go. And that would not have happened if we'd have seen him at a qualifier. We'd have been like, okay, we know what to expect now. And the fact that he came out like good 18 to 20 pounds heavier, I mean, he was 230 on stage, you know? And when he came out, it was like, and then when he did that front relaxed, it was just, I remember that'll be one of the, like when I saw Gunter or Ronnie at the Olympias in 2001, 2002, you know, or Phil Heath hitting that readable bicep, you know, it's one of these things that's going to stick in my mind because people were gasping and freaking out when he started posing. And when he hit the back shots, I mean, Steve was behind me, you know, we're right behind the judges. We were like, holy shit, he brought it, he delivered. And for that reason alone, I'm happy that he got the special invite, and I'm happy that we didn't get to see that version of him until he walked on stage at the pre-judging, because it was absolutely incredible to witness firsthand.
Yeah, I agree. It would have ruined the whole surprise. Yeah. We wouldn't have had that moment. So
there you go.
For all you people that wanted to do some lower, you know, I'm not saying lower tier, but some qualifying show. Yeah. Now I hope you feel stupid. So we had two new rookies this year in the Olympia. So let's start with the guy who wasn't even a pro at the beginning of this year. Actually, neither one of them was an IFBB Pro League pro at the beginning of this year. Andrew, but Andrew Jacked, his real name is Chinedu, and we'll just call him Andrew Jacked. I think it's Chinedu Aneka or something. Anyway, because if you look at the score sheets, it doesn't say Andrew Jacked, obviously. But he started the year off as an amateur, turns pro at the Arnold Amateur in March, and everyone's like, okay, the condition wasn't that great, but we could see some potential. Texas Pro, I was there. That was a show where he just dominated, blew everybody away. He literally, the stature, the width, everything just made him overwhelming. And
I had him fourth at that show, but I wasn't. Thing is, Ron, I wasn't there. So
who did you have winning? Who did you have winning? Kuklo?
I can't remember. Well, I had Quint, Kuklo, and Martin ahead of him. But I'll say your piece and then I'll say mine. Yeah,
I mean, I could see, especially there were, you know, he's a work in progress, and I still believe that. I didn't see the conditioning from the back that we're conditioned snobs. If we see soft glutes and hams, to me, you're not in shape. From the front, he's sharp, but most people are sharp from the front. It's when they turn around, you look at the lower back, you look at the glutes, the hams. If those areas are still kind of mushy looking, blurry looking, and his were, but he had so much going on with that structure, the height, plenty of size, which I do think he needs a little more. I know he's 290 plus on stage. It doesn't mean numbers mean nothing because he's got these long arms and legs. Hamstrings need to come out, but the potential, crazy. Then he goes over to Arnold UK. Same thing happens. It was, another lights out performance from him. And Olympia, I still think for him to make take seventh, right? Is that what you eighth place? And the condition still wasn't there. I still wasn't impressed with his condition. That goes to show you just how good his potential is. If he's doing this well without even being in shape, and I'm using quotation marks, because some people say he was in shape. I'm saying, look at the areas I'm talking about, and you're going to have to agree that those areas could have been a lot sharper. If he's doing that well without the finishing touches that I think he should have, the potential for this guy skyrockets. So you didn't get your first look at him till the Olympia. What were your initial impressions?
I'm completely blown away. I will say, because he's someone that you do need to see in the flesh. But like I said, if you analyze photos, you can pick him apart, because I think in terms of potential, I think he's got more potential than anybody else in that lineup. I mean, he absolutely, when you scan the lineup, your eyes are instantly drawn to him because he's like a 6'2" flex wheeler with size, with everything. But I mean, I think another year, I think maybe next year or the year after, I think he's going to be fighting out for the Olympia title. I think the potential is there, but like I said, potential could be a double-edged sword if he can fix those areas. But actually, physically in the flesh, he was shocking to me. Actually shockingly good. But like I said, for the analyst in me, I can go, okay, but he needs to do this, and this, and then he's going to leapfrog up to that, like top three, maybe even win the Olympia. I know time's against him because he is 38. Somebody said he might even be close to 39. But I think because he's fresh, I think he's fresh. And I think and if you look at the pictures from the Arnold Classic in March when he turned pro to now, he's someone that can make rapid progress. Plus, he was actually quite sick as well, because I interviewed him with Ronnie a couple of weeks before,
Mm.
and he was saying to Ronnie, he was saying, like, I've been sick, I've got I've got a cold, and obviously Vegas is freezing for me compared to 36 degrees in Dubai. He says, and you could hear it in his voice. He was very like, he was kind of like almost giving us a hint that he wasn't going to be at his best.
Yes.
So imagine an in shape, like really, really, really like granite hard in shape Andrew Jack in another year or two. I think he could potentially win the Olympia. And I know I've been called an Andrew Jack hater, but I was genuinely critiquing the guy because, I know people see him as the second coming or something, but it's like, there is areas he does need to improve. But I tell you what, if he does, then watch out, because I think Andrew Jack he would be an amazing representative for the Olympia title, because he's godlike looking. I mean, he's incredible. He looks like something out of a Marvel film. But I like him as well. He's a cool guy. And but I think a year, 2 years, I think then we're really talking for Andrew Jack.
Yeah, and he was definitely still sick, because at the meet and greet Thursday night, I got a quick interview that we couldn't end up. I don't think we ended up using it. The audio was so bad. He was so soft spoken, I could barely hear him. I didn't have my hearing aids, but
it was noisy. It was noisy.
It was noisy, and it sounded the way from what I could hear, it sounded to me like he was telling me, basically reading between the lines, I'm gonna look like crap tomorrow, because all he was talking about is how sick he's been and this and that, and he didn't look confident, and then he didn't look that much worse to me than he did in Texas, considering all he's been through. He's been prepping all year long too. So give him a break. Nice off season. This guy next year, I think, is going to be a very, very different bodybuilder.
When you think about it, when he's done March, then he's done the summer shows, then he did September, like he has been prepping. I remember I did 4 shows in a row once. And by the 3rd show, I'd lost my voice. I lost my hearing went. And obviously my immune system was that suppressed. And that was only over like probably over 4 months. This guy's been prepping since like January, the whole year. So I don't want to see him do the Arnold, though. I want to see him take a bit of time off and really regroup, because like I said, he's made an absolute huge impact this year. And I hope that he can address those areas that he needs to address, like the conditioning and maybe a little bit more size as well. But I tell you what I really liked, which I saw a big improvement, was his posing. His posing routine gave me shivers. I thought it was incredible. And the routines I saw at the Arnold and the Texas were terrible. But what he did at the Olympia, it was really choreographed and it was really cool. I was really, but like I said, as a first impression, I can see signs of absolute greatness there. So like I said, let's see what happens in the next year or two.
And in his routine, he goes into a split at 290 plus pounds. How many guys are doing it? So the other big sensation of the year was Michal, Michal, Krizanek from Slovakia, but we all know him as Krizo. So this is a guy he's been winning he won 14 out of 15 elite pro shows, the other IFBB. But it's, as like Sergio Oliva Jr. said, you're beating the same like 3 guys over and over again. It's not very exciting.
Yeah.
So he finally decided to come over to the big time, the big leagues, to go after the Mr. Olympia title and the Arnold Classic. Well, he's actually won Arnold Classics over in Europe, but this is a guy I never thought I'd get to see him next to Rami and Bonac and Brandon and Hany and these guys. I thought he was going to stay over there, and I thought, well, they're probably paying him well just to be their poster boy, and we're never going to get to see him. Finally, him and his coach decided to go after it. He won the qualifier. Condition was very iffy at the qualifier. It was all they needed to do to win the pro qualifier. Then it was 2 weeks later. No, a few weeks later was
4 weeks later. It was 3-4 weeks later after Italy. Yeah.
Because you were in Prague, right?
Yeah, I was doing live stream.
So was that the first time you had seen him compete, or had you seen him before?
That's the first time I saw him, when he walked out. Yeah, incredible.
So so what did you think? Obviously, most of us only got our first look at him at the Olympia, but you had that sneak preview over in Prague.
Well, he looked good at judging, but he really pulled it out the bag for the night show. I mean, at the pre-judging, I was impressed and disappointed all at the same time. His tan was a mess, and he kind of looked like he didn't have any sheen on. And I was like, I'm trying to assess this guy. Why would they get the guy who they're pinning to win this, and they're letting him come out look kind of sloppy, and it really annoyed me actually. And he was puffing and panting, and then he must have had a good talking to and a bit of a sort of meeting and stuff, and they must have said, look, you need to sort it out. I think he was nervous as well, because imagine the expectation, the weight of expectation on Krizo. It's like, it's his first pro show, and he's only just turned pro, and he's got all this, but the night show, he looked fantastic. I mean, I was just, his riddle bicep, the shoulders and the arms, the detail, the separation, and it's just seeing that guy in the flesh was bloody impressive. But I knew he wasn't in top conditioning, so I was happy to see him at the Olympia, better conditioning. But I'm really impressed with him, actually. I'm really impressed with him. I think the big thing I was happy about was that his back was actually not that bad.
Yeah.
I think his chest and back, I think his chest and back it's like Lee Haney was chest and back, and his arms and shoulders would look, because his chest and back was so good. It's not that his chest and back are bad, but that's areas he can improve them, because obviously those arms, I mean, what are those arms? It's 24, 25 inches or something?
Yes. And it's
but they're quality as well. They're quality.
Yeah, I mean, they're real. They're not lumped. Those aren't shot up SEO arms. Those are striated and split and peaked and incredible. But his legs are good. I think his legs are pretty good, actually. I think they're really good. They're very good.
But I think the midsection, the chest and the back, and there's just the sort of professionalism, like turning up to prejudging with your tan on point. Because like I said, I saw him at the Olympia and Prague, literally the day before and on the morning of the show, white as a sheet. A guy like that needs to do what Dennis Wolf learned how to do. I remember 2012 at EVLAS Prague, and I went up and I bought Dennis, because he won. He beat Sean Roden, and I bought him a triple Red Bull and vodka. Sorry, triple vodka and Red Bull. And I said, I got him one for his wife as well. And I said, right, that's for finally, after 6 years, getting the guy's bloody tan right. But she says, no, his wife said, what we have to do, we have to start tanning 2 days out. So that is what Krizo needs to do, because he's got that, James Holland said, that Dennis Wolf pale skin, and you can't literally show up to a show and get sprayed and go walk on stage, because it's the likelihood that's going to go wrong, which it did in Prague and at the Olympia, at the prejudging anyway. You can't, especially at a level that high. But like I said, I mean, he's 32, so I think the emergence of him and Andrew Jack this year has really added a huge level of excitement to bodybuilding. And I'm very, very excited to see what happens in this next year or two, because I think he's going to get more confident. He's going to get more professional. There's going to be more. He's going to get more experienced. And I think in 2 years, I think we've got a real sort of something special on our hands.
Absolutely. So we could probably get into the Olympia now. I guess let's start with the all-star coach of the Olympia. Why not? Hany Rambod. This guy had the Mr. Olympia champion as his client, the Mr. Olympia runner-up, and the classic physique champion, Chris Bumstead, who, to me, Chris Bumstead was like the star of the weekend. Derek got a huge reaction, but if you really paid attention, anytime Bumstead came out, people went bonkers. They were like losing their shit.
It wasn't even close. I was messaging someone because one of the guys I did some of the tours with, he says, please get Bumstead over for a tour. He said, and I said to him, I said, mate, every time, I've never seen anything quite, it's like Ronnie level when Ronnie was at his peak. When he came out, as soon as he just strolled out, it was like the place was just, it was like, it was incredible. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. And him winning his fourth title at only 27 years old, but it started a dialogue among the fans is, why is Classic so underrepresented in the prize money? I know this is up to the discretion of Jake and Dan and the people who figure it out, but Chris gets $50,000 at the Olympia for winning, whereas Hady Choopan got $400,000, which I'm going to show off my math skills. That's 8 times more money. I got it right, didn't I? But I pointed out in a lot of comments, because I've been going back and forth in our YouTube videos with people in the comments, which I encourage you guys to comment here. We love to hear your feedback. Chris doesn't need the money. Chris makes his own money. He's part owner of Raw Revive. He's got a YouTube channel with a couple million subscribers. He's got 11 million followers on Instagram. He's got a clothing line. He's got his own line of Inside Raw, the Bumstead line. I don't know what it's called. Maybe Thavage with a TH. But it's and then I think it was this year also the Arnold Classic announced that they were having equal prize money starting in 2023 for Open and Classic. Is that right?
I don't know, but obviously back in March, they bump the prize money for the Classic up to 70 because Terence Ruffin won it, didn't they?
Yes.
They bumped it up. So now the Arnold Classic actually has more prize money than the Olympia. And I'm sure that it's like Joe Weider never wanted the Arnold Classic to give away more prize money than so he used to give away so Arnold used to give away the car on top, the Humvee or the Escalade. Yep. So I'm sure there'll be I'm guessing that there'll be some changes there.
Mm.
But like you said, I mean, like Bob Chick said at the Sunday seminar, and he says, "Oh, so then, Chris, you won 50,000." He says, "I know that's like short, that's just pocket change to you, but yeah." So I just but like Flex Lewis told me, he said I never compete even thinking about the prize money. He said the prize money probably just covers my prep.
Yeah.
50,000. So maybe they're looking at it. But like I said, I mean, Chris Bumstead is just, I mean, it's just, I get it now. I didn't get it before. I never really got the kind of hype like that much, like the sheer level above that he's on. Because I spoke to Dan Solomon last year and he said, Giles, he said, Chris Bumstead, man, he said, do a tour with him. He says, that guy is, he said, his words were a freaking rock star.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? But now I kind of get it.
Well, think about the meet and greet. I think that's an accurate representation, because you could say, well, Instagram means nothing. That's a bunch of punks all over the world. It doesn't cost them a dime. But everyone at that meet and greet spent money to buy tickets to the Olympia to travel there. So that's a good representation of the fans of the sport, I'd say. He had by far the biggest crowd and line of people trying to get a picture and talk to him, much more so than Rami, more so than Andrew Jack, Nick Walker, any of these other Derek, any of these other very popular bodybuilders.
Yeah.
So, 2 years ago, if you asked me, is Classic ever going to be as popular as the Open? I'd say, nah, there's no way in hell. And I still think the Open is going to be the bigger draw. But right now, Bumstead's the most popular, quote unquote, bodybuilder in the world. I don't think anybody can argue that.
Well, I have to ask ourselves, let's be brutally honest now. If you could wave a magic wand and look like Hany or Chris Bumstead, who would you want to look like?
Let's see. Now, Hany, I'm not making fun of you because I'm not tall. I'm only 5'7.5" on a good day now. I'm shrinking. But if I could be almost 6'2", 240 pounds of perfection with a sweet mustache, come on now, nice, beautiful head of hair. Chris Bumstead all day long. I'd be.
Would you want to look like? Basically, I'm asking, do you want to look like the Hulk or Thor?
Thor.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm sorry, but I have to agree. And I'm a big Hany fan. I think he's amazing. Yeah. But also, just before I forget, there was something that Hany Rambod said at the Superstar seminar on the Sunday. He said that Derek nearly pulled out of the Olympia right before.
Do tell. Why would he even?
Well, he wouldn't. Bob Chick tried to push him, but he wouldn't tell us. He said you could find out in our podcast.
Has that already happened?
Yeah, he wouldn't tell us. He said no. He said Derek. There was something happened that meant Derek nearly pulled out of the Olympia. He said, I'm sure he said a week before, but it was not long before the Olympia that Derek nearly pulled out of Olympia. But obviously they didn't release any information until they want to talk about it after the Olympia, because he said he didn't want it to prejudice or whatever like that. Right. But going back to Hany Rambod, I went up to Hany Rambod at the seminar afterwards and I shook his hand. I said, mate, you must be happy. And he says, Giles, he said, I couldn't have wished for any better. I've actually filmed it as well. Yeah, he said, I couldn't have wished for any better. I mean, imagine having 1 and 2. And also, Hany was 10 pounds heavier this year.
Wow.
And do you know what? When you actually look at the 2019 or the 2020 or any of those, because Hany was a similar size from 2017 to 2021. I think he was kind of the same size.
Yeah.
Even when I saw him in San Marino, I heard he was still 212 there, and he looked enormous. But if you actually look at the frontal bicep pictures, especially when he hits that pose, you do see actually how much bigger he is. So that was what Hany wanted to do. He wanted to bring him because they knew they could bring him in conditioned. But he said he was 10 pounds heavier this year. So and also had he sorted that out, because I was looking directly at his shoulders, and he definitely sorted that out. So kudos to him. I'm very happy he did that, because you could imagine how gutted his fans would have been if he'd have lost that and the judges would have said, look, we gave it to Derek, we put you down to 3rd or 4th because of this, So I'm happy that he was smart enough to address that, because it's frustrating when these guys like Krizo turn up with a rubbish tan, or the guys turn up with obvious, when they put something in their shoulders. I think that it really, because you want to see everyone at their best and be in their best chance. And we want to work out who's the best without being penalized for something that they could easily avoid, Yeah.
And, I went back before this Olympia and looked at videos of last year, and his shoulders, Hany's last year, were dodgy as F. They were just like square, like angular, like. So yeah, had he showed up with everything else improved and still those lumpy shoulders, he would not have won the Olympia. And
yeah,
I keep saying this, and I hate to keep throwing the judges from the old day under the bus or promoters from the old day under the bus, but in the old days, Hany Chupan would never have been allowed to win the Mr. Olympia. It wouldn't have happened, no matter how good he looked. The fact that he's short, he's from a country that has terrible relations with the US, he doesn't speak English, he's hearing impaired. That means he's a horrible ambassador, a horrible role model in the eyes of, people who would want to profit off of the marketability of the Mr. Olympia champion.
Yeah.
They didn't care about marketability or anything like that. They gave it to the best physique on stage. And geez, the top two in the world were former 212 competitors, And like you said, this was a division that was kind of like a B league for a while, considered that way, like not less than or not as good as open. These two guys, just show you, one of them just wins the Olympia. The other one, they beat two previous Mr. Olympias. They both did. They both beat Curry. They both beat Ramy. So
I think one of the reasons this Olympia was so well received. I mean, it was probably the best Olympia I've ever been to. It was incredible for a million reasons. But for me, it was the judging. I thought the judging was absolutely. I thought Ramy was. If Ramy, I thought Mr. Olympia going down to 5th from 1st. I mean, I spoke to two kind of real industry experts. I won't mention their names. And they both said, look, you and I know they won't place Ramy lower than 3rd.
Right.
He doesn't deserve the win. Everyone agreed. Everyone I spoke to agreed that it was Derek and Hany top 2. But they said, look, come on, look, talk to me. Let's be frank, Giles. They ain't going to place the Mr. Olympia lower than 3rd. And he got 5th. So that was really because I actually had him 6th. I had Samson beating him. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And no disrespect to Ramy, but he wasn't his best. There was, as soon as he came out, I saw the triceps, the calves, the lower lats. I mean, he didn't look. The midsection looked weird. It was just like, okay, this guy is like Ronnie, like Jay, like Phil Heath. You hit a peak and then you start to sort of, your body's literally had enough. Because those things I don't think Ramy can come back from now. I don't think he should compete again. I think he should just walk up into the sunset with the 2 sandos, become continue his godlike status in Egypt and pursue as many business things as he can. That guy's set for life. He is good. He is literally like an international superstar in his country. I mean, he is like my friend Paul went to Egypt last year on holiday, and he says people in villages. He said people in cab drivers know Ramy. Everyone knows Ramy, and he's respected and loved. Wow. So I think. Well,
let me ask you this: for those reasons you just laid out, do you feel like Ramy might feel obligated to come back and try to win it back for the people of Egypt, for his millions and millions of fans? Especially, he was basically representing. He has fans all over the world. I've been blasted for trying to say he only has fans in the Middle East. No, obviously he has fans everywhere. But he has a massive fan base in the Middle East, millions and millions of people. He's representing an entire part of the world, an entire culture. I don't know if he might feel like I have to try, I have to keep trying. But maybe it will take him getting knocked down even further next year's Olympia for him to realize it's, I had a great run. I did amazing, and I'm set for life. I'm gonna be Big Ramy forever. He's not an old man. He's still 36 years old, still relatively young.
He's still not young. Okay, so did you see that video he posted right after the Olympia?
I didn't watch it, but it sounded like he was coming back.
He did it half in Arabic, whatever, Egyptian or whatever.
Arabic, yeah.
Ignorant Arabic. And then he did the last couple of minutes in English. And he said, look, I'm coming back. I'm going to keep going. He said, I've come back. Remember when he got 2nd in 2017 to Phil Heath? Then he knocked down to 6th.
Right.
And then obviously in 2020 he came back and won it. The thing is, I think it's different now. Like once those muscles, like remember 2005 Ronnie, when his left lat and his right tricep, you could see that it was starting to, even when he got his winner's shot and he was doing the most muscular, you could see what the left tricep was flattening out. And that's what's happening to Ramy. And the thing is, I mean, I noticed his lower lats and his calves even before the Olympics, some of the guest posings. And I was thinking, once they go, they go. A friend of mine's had that, and he said he has no explanation. He said his inner calf, his gastrocnemius, is completely gone. It just goes. I think it just gets to that age, then whatever. Maybe I think it's just everyone's body, like Phil. Phil was just unbeatable, it seemed, and then all of a sudden, things started to, sort of look a bit different, and then other guys get a chance to catch up.
Yeah, we don't know what's wrong. We're speculating because nerve damage seems to be the most likely explanation for this, because I actually talked to a guy around my age. He said, I pinched a nerve and something happened. He had an injury in his back. He said, all of a sudden, within a couple of weeks, my inner calf was gone. I didn't injure it. I didn't stop training. There's no explanation, but it just withered away. Within like 3 weeks, it was less than half the size it normally was. So if it's similar to what Ronnie, nerve damage, I don't think it can be repaired. I don't think we have the medical technology yet to fix that. So if that's the case.
Do you remember Des Wolf when he had his neck and he tried to come back and he got like last place at the Arnold? It's like once that's done, something to do with the spine. I remember I had a lower back problem with some squatting, and I went to an osteopath and he says, this will fix it, like that. And I got up and I was like, I could move, it's like everything's connected, so like this, so I just think, I don't know. And I think maybe he's battered his body enough, because he's been going hard for 10 years, Rami now. He turned pro 2012, and if you look at the shots of him from 2013 at the New York Pro, I mean, it's like I don't like his physique now. I don't like it, I thought he looked incredible 2020, and I think he fully deserved the win. Yeah. But like I said, I think it was going back to the judging, I think that was a really good thing that they did. I think they judged it really, really well. And for me, it makes the Olympias more exciting because it doesn't make it as predictable, not like, oh, he's won again and he doesn't even look as good as last year. Like last year, he didn't look as good as 2020, but they still gave it to him. And I had people saying, oh, I gave it to Brandon. Somebody else said they gave it to Hany. So fans don't want that. They want to see people judge fairly on the day. And that's exactly what happened at this Olympia.
Giles, was I one of the guys who said they wouldn't place him any lower than third? I was, wasn't it?
Was it? No,
was I one of the guys who said...
I can remember one of them, but...
Yeah, I honestly didn't think they'd put him that low, even though I knew he deserved it. But this really, I'm not even going to question the judging anymore. I think I still have flashbacks and trauma from shows, Olympias and other shows in the past when I saw some terrible, terrible decisions that were, especially we've seen Mr. Olympia champions in the past that did not deserve to win. And, I won't name the Mr. Olympia or the years, but we've all been to Mr. Olympias where Mr. Olympia should not have won that year. He's the second place guy should have won.
Well, I've argued back and forth with Milos because he said that NASA should have won the 97 Olympia, not Dorian. And I'm like, no, I won't have it. But there's an argument for that. I personally said, well, because of NASA's back, I said that put him out of contention. I said I wouldn't have had him for the win, but it's like these debates will go back and forth. But like I said, I probably would have, like I said, the only thing I would have done differently is I probably would have had Rami sick because I think Samson really, really, really impressed me.
If we're going to give a most improved bodybuilder of the year award for 2022, I think Samson Dauda is the man to give it to because Arnold Classic back in March, I was like, it's all right. He's pretty good. I saw him at the Boston Pro. Obviously, a week later, he's not going to look that different. When I saw him at the Olympia, because I didn't, was he in Arnold UK? Did he do Arnold? No, he just did Olympia. So I hadn't seen this version of him except on Instagram, and I don't put any stock in Instagram because I'm thinking, he could morph that and whatever. He came out and I was like, geez, this guy blew up. He got so much bigger. Condition was as good or better than what I'd seen previously. And that waist, it's still like, 20-inch waist, 18-inch waist, 9-inch.
Can I give you some stats?
Please do.
I'll give you some body weight. I know people hype me talking about body weight, but it is a gauge of progress because it's not like he blew his waistline out. When he won Prague last year in 2021, he was 270. That qualified him for this following Olympia. When he went to the Arnold Classic 3 months later, he was 280. And Milos weighed him depleted before he carved up. He was 294 at the Olympia. So, I mean, give or take, drying out and filling up. I mean, there's a guy like who's probably one of the most aesthetic guys in the show. It's probably close to 300 pounds on stage. Wow. I mean, like I said, Samson's like Derek. You have to see him in the or Andrew Jack. You have to see him in the flesh to really appreciate how freaking good he is. Because, like I said in my column, I said he ticks every box. He's aesthetics. He's big. He's got, and he's a good poser. His conditioning is good. It could always, there is better people with better conditioning, but that's just the kind of physique he's got. But when he hits a shot, he doesn't even have to stand aesthetically to look aesthetic. He could be stood there with his hands, like his arms crossed, and it still looks beautiful. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's still something that, it's a nice physique to look at. It's not missing anything. And the fact that he still managed to keep that waist so small, Because he said even when he was like 330, his waist was still 34 inches. I mean, how is that even humanly possible?
That can't be right. But yeah, I mean, there's 3 guys now that really made great impressions this past year, 2022. They're all over 6 foot. They're all, well, Quentin Area is not 290, but he's a big kid. He's still a kid. They all had that elusive combination of size and aesthetics with small waist, which I can't remember the last time we've had that many, or have we ever had that many physiques like that on the pro stage.
Hany?
Maybe one. So, but now we're getting like a whole flock of them. And interestingly enough, they're all either Nigerian or half Nigerian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But also I mean, how many times do we, especially in the era of social media, how many times do we have hype around someone and then are always either a little bit disappointed or a lot disappointed? Like, I think Derek Lunsford and Samson are the two in my eyes that really, really did live up to the hype. And how rare is that to happen in the industry? And it happened twice with those guys.
Yeah, very much. I mean, not even 9 times out of 10, 98 times out of 100, the people that we hype up never live up to the expectations. You know, I hate to use that phrase, future Mr. Olympia, because it's like a curse.
Yeah. I mean, it's and the thing is, this is in the era of filters and sharpening pictures, and you know, we're all sick of it. Like a lot of the time, I'll be like, yeah, whatever, you know, let's see how you look on stage, you know, because you know you can't take those filters on stage.
Well, now we have that Lensa app that everyone's using that makes you look like a cartoon character. I'm too cheap to pay the $5 for it, so I guess I'll never be a cartoon.
I look like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I looked like how skinny I looked in it. I thought, oh God, I don't like this. I've not used any of them. I look weird. Maybe I am weird. I don't know. Maybe I do look weird. I don't know.
Yeah, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Interesting. But yeah, I think that wraps up everything I want to talk about. Well, I do want one last thing is we did have another passing, was Jim Lorimer, age of 96. He lived a long, rich life. This guy was he was in the FBI. He was mayor of Worthington, Ohio for decades. Involved in Olympic weightlifting, Olympics committees for weightlifting. He was the first one to bring Arnold Schwarzenegger over to the U.S. to compete. Man, this guy, and they started the Arnold Classic with Arnold. He also promoted 2 Mr. Olympia contests. Not everyone realizes that, both in Columbus, Ohio. So, you know, rest in peace, Jim, because without Jim, we wouldn't have the Arnold Classic, which has lived on without the Lorimer family. But yeah, rest in peace, Jim.
You know, he's one of those people that I can probably count on both hands of 27 years where not a single person ever had a bad word about him. And somebody at that level, people are always either jealous or resentful, or there's something, that bit of business they did that didn't go their way, or just a general feeling. And Jim Lorimer is somebody that I've never ever heard a bad word about, and only really good things. And you know, like especially I was reading the obituaries and all the comments when he passed. You know, people were like, really. Like, we've really lost a good guy here, you know? And I read Arnold's as well. And Arnold was like, I mean, it was just, you know, him and Arnold were like brothers. Do you know what I mean? And also, like I've said before, they never had a official contract with the scale of that business, the Arnold Classic. It was all done on a handshake. I mean, that tells you the integrity and the quality of that man.
Yeah, handshake. What's your favorite handshake in a movie?
What?
It's Arnold and Carl Weathers in the beginning of Predator.
Oh, yeah, you son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch. So we'll end this on, you know, we're starting off the year 2023. What are you most looking forward to in 2023 in our industry of bodybuilding? You know, not Batman movies or anything like that. The world of bodybuilding. What are you really looking forward to this year?
I don't know, really. I mean, this year's been pretty special for bodybuilding, really. I mean, the amount of shows has gone up. It's almost like bodybuilding's almost become a victim of its own success. It's almost getting too big too quick. It's like, guys, just you know, but the thing is, you can't, there's progress, you can't slow down, because it just shows you how many people around the world, you know. And like I said, I know people complain about the categories and how many divisions there are, but just think about, if we didn't have Classic, we wouldn't have Chris Bumstead, we wouldn't have, you know, Derek Lunsford and Sean Clarida. We wouldn't have, you know, the Franciel Matos and all these superstars of the industry who are all making great livings and having a great life and going after their dreams and stuff. You know, I mean, I don't think I could go back to an Olympia where there was just 15 guys on stage and that is it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. And like I said, when you're at the shows, they sometimes do feel very, very, they are very, very long and they're very intense. But you know what? If I had the choice, I would have it exactly as it is now because, you know, the popularity and growth of bodybuilding and all its divisions, it's for me, it's I can only see it as a good thing.
You know, I think we now have the phrase that they use all the time, something for everyone.
Yeah.
For women, they have 5, 6 categories. I mean, all the way from bikini, all the way up to women's bodybuilding, huge range of physiques in there. Men, you have men's physique, class physique, 212 open, you have wheelchair. So there is something for everyone. The only drawback to having something for everyone is not everyone's going to want to watch everything. So if somebody's there and they only like classic and men's physique, they're going to be like, this stupid 212, women's figure. And, you know, the people that were there for the open, they're basically like, we got to sit through all these. We should have all the women's divisions on one day and all the, you know, everyone's coming up with their own little pet theories. But yeah, it's hitting a market that's heretofore we've never seen these kind of numbers. This Olympia was packed. That meet and greet. I've been to many meet and greets. I've never been to one that was that. And that's why everybody got sick. I think we're all crammed in like sardines. Yeah. But man, it was a lot of humanity there, a lot of fans. And
Ron, the atmosphere when I walked into that main room, because I didn't really leave that main room because there were so many people there. I did Bonac and Rafael Brandao. You know, I was just like, everyone was commenting on the atmosphere and it was so electric. And the thing is, that's kind of like, that's always the starting point for the Olympia, isn't it? And it was a really good start for me because, like I said, that was my first Olympia since 2019. But I absolutely loved it, mate. I loved it.
Final Olympia question for you, though. It's coming back to Orlando. What do you think? Do you like it better? You didn't go to the 2 Orlando Olympias. I did. I mean, for me, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I said it could be in Anchorage, Alaska. It could be in Birmingham. It doesn't matter. I never leave the hotel anyway. But for you personally, where would you rather see the Olympia take place?
I actually don't care. I don't care. I really don't care. And do you know what? When I first got to Vegas, when I was literally checking in and I was speaking, because I saw quite a few of the competitors. It was Andrea Presti, Kamal, Akeem, you know, I saw Phil and all that lot. But I was speaking to people just in the queue. And that first day, I had a surprising amount of people saying they actually preferred it in Florida. And then as the show went on, people were like, oh no, I prefer it in Vegas and stuff. But I did feel a split. So I think it's quite a wise move that they're doing this, going back and forth. It seems quite smart because, I mean, Dan told me the reason was because there's companies on the East Coast that don't want to travel all the way to the West Coast and vice versa. Right. So I think it's, I'm surprised they're doing that actually, but because surely now they've got the Zappos and, you know, there's always going to be teething problems with new venues and new stuff, but they're actually, you know, they must have had a good experience in Florida to be taking it back there. Yeah. But what do you think of the Zappos?
Oh, fantastic theater. Fantastic. But you know what? Orlando, it was in a bank. What do you call that room? The place they had in Orlando was pretty damn impressive too. It wasn't very different. It was huge, tons of room. You know, any venue that they're going to select for the Olympia weekend has got to be larger than life because what do they have? 6 of those giant screens going all the way across. They need a lot of room for that. I think the big difference between Vegas and Orlando, Vegas is more of an adult playground. If you don't have kids or you're not bringing kids with you and you want to gamble, you want to see some shows and go see strippers and God knows what else, magic shows, Vegas is your place. But Orlando, you know, you could go to Orlando this time and take a couple extra days maybe. You and Lauren could go to SeaWorld. You could go to Disney. You could go to Universal, MGM. There's a lot of,
Also in Florida, I'm pretty sure I won't be offered crack.
Well, you might be. No, I think Florida's meth. Vegas.
Oh, because I was. Oh, okay. Which is your poison?
There's plenty of drugs in Florida.
Hang on, sorry. There's something going on. Hang on, I just lost you there. Hang on.
I'm here.
Okay, they are. Yeah, because we were walking out on the strip and we're just out Caesar's Palace, and Lauren says, "Did you hear what that person said?" I says, "No." She says, she just offered us crack," and I says, "No, I'll stick with my espresso, thanks."
Wow, you know what? You just reminded me of the very first time I went to Las Vegas. I drove through. I didn't even stop. I was 18 years old. Was I 18? Yes. And I was driving through Vegas, and I was at a stoplight, and a guy ran up to me. He says, "Hey, can you give me a ride to so-and-so?" I'm like, "No," I had all my stuff with me. I'm like, "Oh, am I gonna?" I thought I was going to get robbed. He looked like a drug addict. He goes, "I'll give you a rock." And I'm like, "A rock?" Why would I want a rock? I didn't even know what he was talking about, but that was crack. So I was offered crack in early 1991 in Vegas. So
wow, okay. So
crack
it's
still has a nice.
Then. Still very popular.
Good to know. Good to know. You can still get plenty of crack in Las Vegas.
And it's funny because like 4 minutes later, we're outside this Gucci shop, you know, and it's really like these really expensive shops. That's like 3-4 minutes walk away. I've been offered crack cocaine on the street. So I was like, this is a bizarre world. I actually forgot how bizarre Vegas was actually, but we had a little look around Bellagio and everything. It's funny because we got a taxi from Planet Hollywood to the Bellagio, and I didn't realize actually you walk through Planet Hollywood, it's over the road.
Oh.
So I paid $10 to be driven around the block and dropped off the Bellagio. And I was outside the Bellagio and I was like, Planet Hollywood's right there. So I think the tax driver probably thought we were a bit crazy, but still fleeced us.
Well, here's a tip, because I had everyone from Europe, I keep having to say, don't take taxis. Nobody in America uses taxis anymore because they will rip you off. They will drive you around and say, oh, we're going to take the freeway. And then you realize you've been driving around for 40 minutes to get someplace that was 2 minutes away. Uber,
very cheap in America, though. Very cheap in America.
I mean, Uber or Lyft, you know exactly what you're going to pay. They tell you on the app it's going to be $17.90 no matter how long it takes them. So you don't have to, you know, I'm paranoid. I'm cheap. I admit it. I'm looking at the meters on taxis in the day, and as the money keeps rolling up, I'm like, damn it. But you don't have to worry about that with Uber. It's a preset price. I find
in America, hotels and taxis are cheaper than the UK, but eating out in America compared to the UK is a lot more expensive. Like by the time you have to add and that whole tipping thing gives me anxiety. I don't like it. Because I like to tip freely. I like to tip it anyway. And in the UK, it's not expected, you know? Yeah. So I find that the servers are very kind of, they're like almost like trying to be your best friend. And I just like, I'm English. I like my space, you know, I'm very friendly, but when I'm eating out, I like to focus on the person I'm with. I just noticed there's a difference there.
Absolutely.
But,
you know how much money did I spend on meals in Vegas?
Oh, well, yeah, I've got all my, that's all my receipts.
I got mine in a bag. It was a bag of receipts. $550.
I believe you. Yeah, because to be honest, I've not even added them up yet.
We weren't eating like, you know, $100 steaks or anything. It was, you know, basic food. But anyway, I'd like you guys, the viewers, if you have topics, subjects, anything you really want Giles and me to get into on this show, we're here for you guys. So leave it in the comments. We like constructive criticism. You can make fun of me and I'll just delete your comments. Don't worry. It's all good. But yeah, Giles, this was our first episode. So pretty excited to have the MD Power hour, not half hour. Yeah, half hour is not long enough. Come on, guys.
Well, sorry, you just froze there a bit. Yeah, I'm very excited, Ron, actually, because you know me, I can talk about anything.
Yeah.
So, and also, I was lied to this year. They said 2022 was Year of the Tiger, and I don't think it was.
You can look that up on like a napkin at any Chinese food restaurant.
No, I know. It was 2022 Year of the Tiger. So I want my money back on that one. So,
but it was the Year of the Tiger. It was.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you have a good? You survived a heart attack and a triple bypass.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? You can, you know, it's like anything in life. You can look back on something and you can look at the negatives or you can look at the positives. And all I know is there's been a lot of positives this year. And also I've kind of established myself as a live stream commentator, which absolutely is my thing and I love.
Yeah.
So that's like to have because I've done so many different things in the industry, you know, like you can think of every single job, promoting, tours, MCing, you know, writing, photography, you know, podcasting, everything, all this sort of stuff, you know, show coverage, you know. So for me to find a new kind of passion to add to what I'm doing and also make a contribution, because I think it's really important in this industry to make a contribution, because it's given me an amazing life, mate. I've had some amazing experience. I've met some wonderful people, you know. And also, Ron, at 12 years ago, you and Sean Ray vouched for me at MD. Because Steve said, look, these guys, he says, there's a lot of emerging talent coming from Europe. We need someone over there that can, you know, who do you suggest? And you and Sean Ray both said me. So thank you for that. Because, and also it was good to be working with you again at the Olympia, mate. Really, really was brilliant, mate.
Thank you. I'm trying to find these Birmingham pictures.
Oh, no.
I know I should just have Jen edit them in, but I'm trying to get
the last day, please. Not the last day.
No, it wasn't the last day. Here we go. I'll find it.
We don't talk about that.
The last day. CRM training.
It was a good year, 2010, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this is the first.
Olympia.
This was a young Giles.
Oh, no.
Wow. Look at this guy.
Oh no, cringe. Look. Oh my God.
How's
Oh,
that
beefy as hell there. I was
Yeah,
chunky
you were.
there, mate.
Yeah, it's you and
My face is a blur. Probably good, really.
yeah. So you were 12 years ago. How old were you? 30?
I was 12 years old.
You look about 12. What a baby face. Yeah. Yeah, you look more distinguished and refined now. Trust me.
I'll when I write my book, because Lauren's always saying I should write a book. Because usually when I have a couple of glasses of wine on a weekend or something, I did it the other night. I'll go on this ramble about my experiences from my life, and she's always just like, and she says, "Giles, you have to write a book." And I said, well, yeah, but nobody would believe them, and it'd probably be quite incriminating.
Well, that's what I say. People want me to write a book about bodybuilding. I said I do it when I'm like retired from covering shows and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, people might not that I have that much dirt on. I don't know. I'm not. I wouldn't.
Oh, I do. I do.
I mean, I do, but I
wouldn't. The thing is, Ron, most of it's on myself.
Correct. Same here. It's
okay.
Me, so yeah, we wouldn't be throwing anyone under the bus. But anyway, Giles, that will wrap up the first episode of the MD Power Hour with Giles, Tiger Thomas, and Ron, the Ronster Harris. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you have some things you'd really like us to get into, some great discussions for the next episode, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear back from you. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell thing there to know when we're releasing videos. Turn on notifications on your phone. Share the videos if you like them. That thumbs up and the share, all that stuff in the bottom of the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, you can benefit from our years of wisdom.
Yes, definitely wisdom. I'm definitely.
Yeah, so Ron, I'm off to eat some turkey now that's drier than Gandhi's flip flop.
Oh boy, what? That's what?
You never heard that one?
No, what? Gandhi?
I said I'm going to eat some turkey that's drier than Gandhi's flip flop.
So that would be Mahatma Gandhi, and his flip flop was his sandal. Why don't you put some sauce on it or something?
Oh yeah, well yeah, I have to put a lot on. You know, it's it needs hydrating definitely.
Well, make sure you have a big glass of water next to you. I don't want you choking on your dry ass turkey.
I foolishly bought a turkey for 13 people, and it's just me and Lauren.
Ooh.
And I wasn't actually that hungry on Christmas Day, so there you go.
Wow, I would freeze some of that and eat it later. Yeah, last thing, Branch Warren he hunted and killed a buffalo one time, and it took him a year to eat all the meat, and he was giving away meat to all his friends. Wow. It was 800 pounds of meat that he took home from this. So, wow. We should do that sometime. All right, Giles, thank you so much, sir. Always a pleasure. Great to start off on this new show with you. Guys, I hope you really enjoyed it, and join us on the next episode of the MD Power Hour. Thanks for watching.
Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.